So today's video is talking about safety at night. We're going out with precious cargo. I mean, us, not camera's precious cargo too. And we're alone at night in the dark, in the middle of nowhere, maybe with no cell service. Let's talk about how we can make this as safe as possible. We are going out at night when our main sensory input, our eyes, the thing that we use primarily to navigate the world and be safe, are working at a really, really reduced capacity. We're going to locations that are beautiful, stunning, also isolated, far away. My friends joke with me, they're like, don't you listen to true crime podcasts? And I'm like, no, why would I do that? I go out at night. We also are hiking with lots of gear. We're going to places that might not have service. We're going to places that might have more animals than people. There are a lot of very real risks that are attached with this genre of photography. That doesn't mean we shouldn't do it. It does mean that there are things that we can do to prepare ourselves and to make the experience as safe as possible. At this point, I have now taught thousands of photographers about going out and photographing the Milky Way. And one of the biggest conversations that we have is about safety. I went back through many of the conversations that we had and distilled everything into 6 categories of things I want you to pay attention to when you are going out at night to shoot, to make sure you're as safe as possible. What I will say here is this is not everything to think about, and what I would love is if you have tips, if you have ideas, if you have things that you do, please put them in the comments of this video. That's how we can all come together and we can get lots of great ideas and we can keep going out at night and taking beautiful photos. Yes? Yes. My first one and my biggest one, and if you have been through any of my trainings, you will have heard me say this, and it is scouting in the daytime first. If there's nothing else that you do, I believe this is the thing that will have the biggest impact. Because during the day, we get a feel for so many things. First, safety issues on site. I went to one particular place that was uncovered when they were building a new highway. It was this really cool old structure that had been built so long ago in the woods and forgotten about. And when I scouted there during the daytime, what did I find? I found an old uncovered well. How are you going to see that at night? Not easily. Not easily at all. I don't go places for the first time at night. I scout during the day beforehand, and you need to do this too. Failing this, the only other thing I could say is have conversations with people who have been there and do as much virtual research as you can. But really, even if it's just the night before you're shooting, get there at sunset or blue hour so you can get into the location, you can scope it out, you can see it and understand what the location is like so you can be as safe as possible. The other thing that going to a location during the daytime will tell you is if you're going to have service or not. Now, some places we know there's just going to be no service whatsoever, but other places, especially where I live in Nova Scotia, the service drops in and out depending on where you're at. So this is my second tip, is build in this safety net before we go. One of the biggest things is connectivity. So on this particular shoot that you're going on, is there connection there? If there's not, and if you're doing this a lot, you're gonna want some type of satellite communication. So you can get the Garmin, this is the mini inReach, or if you're someone who's doing a lot more backcountry and you're doing it a lot, or you're going places that don't have connectivity, something like a Starlink or some type of satellite is gonna be really important, because if something does happen, how are we gonna get in contact with people? Now on that note, this is like safety 101, but people need to know where you're going to be. At least one person needs to know the specifics of where you are going, when you will be there, when you are coming back. I'm not going to go crazy in depth into search and rescue and all of those pieces, but what do we know? We know if someone does not report back at the time that they report back, and if we know where they were supposed to be, those search and rescue professionals have a much higher likelihood of being able to help the person. So we need to help ourselves. And there are lots of ways to do this. If you have a person that you live with, that person should be told. But if you don't, have someone else. For the longest time, I would send my brother a message and let him know. He doesn't live here, he lives on the other side of the country, but he would be the person that I would message, and I would make sure he knew where I was going, when I would be there. The goal is that someone always knows where you are, even if you're completely unreachable. And for me, the fact that someone knows how to find me if they need to makes me feel a ton better going into these places. Number 3, we've got to talk about wildlife. This is different depending on where you're at. And I'm not here to be like, there's something out there that's gonna eat you. Maybe there is. But what can we do in terms of what is wildlife where we live and how do we deal with it? Number 1, you need to know. So if you're going out and you're shooting locally to you, you probably already have a pretty good feel on this. But if you're going somewhere new, you need to do the research first. The time to think about it is not when you've driven into the parking lot and you open up your phone and you're like, blah, 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 wildlife at night, risks. That is not the time to do it. One of the things that I love doing when I travel is I love going to visitor centers because you know what they have? These are from a local one here. They have things about all of the local wildlife. So specifically here in Nova Scotia, we have black bears, we have coyotes, and we have moose. Figure it out, know what's there, know what to do. Is it a black bear? Is it a grizzly bear? Know the safety precautions to take, know how to protect yourself. One of the things that I do when I'm hiking in somewhere, I use white light. And we'll talk about this a little bit more, but for me, I am this one, and it is a bright one. So this has multiple levels, but it is very bright, and I'm wearing this in whenever I hike. I'm also making noise. I'm noisy, I'm not like quiet and being like reverent of everything. I know in normal daytime hikes, I am like that. I'm quiet, I'm enjoying everything. But at night, I am making a case about the fact that I am there and that I am big. Maybe I'm not, but they don't need to know that because most wildlife is just gonna steer clear of us for the most part. That might not be the case depending if you're in an area with things like grizzlies or mountain lions, etc. And you need to know based on where you're at. And the other thing that I will do, I also will bring a really big flashlight. This is heavy, it is big. I do not love carrying it. I don't use it really for anything, but I do use it for scanning and for seeing. There have been some times where I have had wildlife encounters and I've needed to see what was going on. There are other things we can do too. So I always bring an air horn with me. Fortunate, knock on wood, that I have not had to use it. Bear spray is another option. I bring what is necessary for the place that I'm going to. When I go to the desert, I bring a UV flashlight with me because I don't want any of those teensy tiny little scorpions making their way into my stuff. No, thank you. It's not about being scared of the wildlife. It's about being informed. The 4th thing to think about is kind of the boring one, but it is actually our physical safety. What are we doing for ourselves? So I talked a little bit already about headlamps. Now, ideally, we're going to be using a red headlamp to preserve our night vision. But what happens is this red headlamp is not super bright. So for safety, for getting in and out, I'm going to fall. I'm going to trip on something if it's just this. And you know what? I don't want to twist my ankle when I am a couple kilometers deep into a hike in the middle of the night. I keep my big bright light for when I am hiking in and out. I have a big flashlight if I need to see things. But then there's the other pieces as well, like proper footwear, proper attire for the place that I'm going, depending on where I'm going, when I'm going, and how far away I'll be from my vehicle, how alone I'll be. There's different levels of things that I'll bring. There's first aid things that I'll bring, etc. It's not always the same. It depends on the shoot itself, but having those things and actually remembering them and bringing them is going to make sure that, again, we're as safe as possible. 5th thing to think about, and this one I find doesn't get talked about as much, is the actual process of shooting in the dark. So let's think about the visibility of things at night. Number 1, are you shooting anywhere near a road? If you're shooting near a road, I know they're not sexy, but the high-vis vests are super important. I have those even just for walking in my neighborhood at night. The other bits to think about are when we're actually at our location itself, when we are shooting, when we have our tripod set up. How many times have you knocked your tripod in the middle of the night? How many times have you tripped because you've hit your tripod with your foot? And if you say none, then you are a much less clumsy person than I am. One of the things that a lot of my students do is they use glow-in-the-dark tape on their tripod legs. The last one here, number 6, is to trust your gut, trust your intuition. I think that very often in this world, we don't get told this or reinforce this enough. Maybe we're not taught this enough, but if something feels wrong, if you can feel it in your bones, if you have goosebumps and there's just a feeling of wrongness, don't keep doing it. Your body knows something that your brain doesn't currently have access to. It's in your subconscious. There have been enough times where I have pulled out of something and pulled back from something, and then there was something unfortunate that happened later, or there was shown to be danger of different types. I won't get into the specifics, where I've been like, oh, I'm really glad. I'm really glad that I listened to my gut. And the worst thing that can happen if you listen to your gut when it's telling you to get out of there is that there was no danger and you just missed some time shooting at a particular location. The worst thing, if you don't listen to it, can be a lot different. Preparation doesn't make the fear disappear. I still get this feeling right in here, it tightens up when I go out and I step out of the car. And I also know that I've done all the things that I can do to set myself up for the best success possible. And that makes me feel confident that I can go into these situations, that I can be alone at night, that I can be in the place. And without fail, it goes through the night. And all of a sudden, I'm now at a place where it's like, oh, I don't notice that anymore. I don't have that same feeling. I've been in the space, I've been in the place enough that I get the feel for it. And that fear, that feeling of unsafety goes away. What I would love is for the conversation to keep going in the comments. Any ideas you have, anything that you do, rituals you have, safety precautions you take, keep it going in the comments, because there's lots of things I didn't talk about here. I didn't talk about bringing a buddy. I didn't talk about bringing your dog. Maybe you have ninja cats. I don't know, a hamster that's trained well. I didn't talk about two-legged predators, other issues that can come up when we're out at night. So if you have anything to add, please add it in the comments. It can be a place where we can all come together, where we can share, and where we can get ideas for being as safe as possible so we can get out at night with our cameras and we can create beautiful images and we can take that fear piece and honor it and have it still be there. It's not going to go away, but it doesn't have to be in the forefront of our mind. We get to have this beautiful experience out at night. That's what I want for all of us.